Okay, Dr. Scaff.
Okay, well, now you're getting into it. I'm going to do a few changes this year as I give talks. We've got so many things to cover, so much to do. I'm going to cover just certain things that we really need to cover. The rest you're going to get out of the book, or the volunteer staff will be able to give it to you. Today is actually an important talk. It has sort of a silly title. It's in the book. It's called How to Pick a Pair of Running Feet. Everybody says, how silly. Well, it's like I said last week. How would you buy ammunition before you knew what size gun you were going to use? And your feet are like, your shoes are sort of fall into that caliber. Now, remember, when we go to sleep at night, gravity has less of an effect on us, and we get taller. The tallest we're going to be during the days when we get out of bed in the morning. Then as the day wears on, we get shorter and shorter. There's gravitation, maybe as much as a ½ inch. So when we get up in the morning, all the swelling in our feet is gone. No pressure has been on the feet. They've been able to contract a little bit. And we put on our shoes. And then we go to work, come home in the afternoon and say, my shoes are killing me. No, your feet were killing the shoes. The shoes were fine in the morning. Something went wrong during the day. Your feet got bigger. Now, I had a picture, which we put up here sometimes, of when I used to work in the mountain province in the Philippines with Igorot headhunters. And they had feet that looked like this. I mean, they would have their big toe would go 45 degrees. The person who took the pictures talked about their deranged feet. Well, actually, they're a marvel of architecture. And if we lived in the mountain province, we'd like to have feet like theirs. Why do I say that? Well, during the Spanish occupation of the Philippines, which lasted 400 years, they conquered all of the Philippines, including the Muslims, but they never conquered the Igorots up in the mountains. And then we had the Spanish-American War. The Americans took over for approximately 50 years, and they never conquered the Igorots. Then the Japanese came in during the Second World War and conquered the Philippines. Actually left Manila. We did, because when we retook the country, the second most destroyed city in the world outside of Warsaw, Poland, and yet none of them caught the Japanese. Caught the Filipinos, or the Igorots. Now what happened? Well, the Igorots knew how to run up and down the sides of the mountains, and their feet worked, and all the conquerors were wearing shoes. Now, under the circumstances, whose feet would you rather have? The ones that have this terrible visage. Well, to continue, so you put on your afternoon feet, and then you go for a run, and your foot gets one size bigger. So already your feet are 2 sizes bigger than they were in the morning. And you're going to go in the morning and you buy a pair of running shoes. Then, after you've run 1 year, your feet get 1 size bigger again. When I came to Hawaii, I wore a 9.5C. Now I'm up to a 12.5D in boots, 11.5D or 12 in regular shoes. So my feet grow and grow and grow. Now, the only people in the United States with close to normal feet are people who live in Hawaii. Because when we were born on the mainland, immediately before we got out of our bassinet, they put on cute little shoes. That's called foot binding. You see what's happened in China a long time ago. But our feet were never given a chance to spread. Whereas in Hawaii, in the public schools anyhow, the kids could wear flip-flops or no shoes at all until the 3rd or 4th grade. And so their feet had a chance to develop more normally. And we call them luau feet. But the definition of a healthy foot is when you can lie on your back, on the bed, in the dark, and take a flashlight, shine it in your toes, and the light goes through. And if it doesn't, it means your feet are capable of expanding, just like mine did by about 3 sizes. So when you go for your shoe talk today, you're fortunate. At least you will have run an hour or so your feet are a little bit bigger. But they're not as big as they're going to get. That's sort of awful, because nobody, particularly the women, like to admit their shoe size. So how do you pick a pair of shoes without embarrassing anybody? Well, first of all, you generally pick a pair of shoes. They'll tell you a little bit about the toe box and all of this. A pair of shoes may be 1 size bigger than you think you need. And remember, with the variable lacing, you can make them smaller. You can't make them any bigger. So you want to anticipate the future. I've been giving this talk for 40 years down here, and I have not had a complaint yet about a person who said, I listened to you and my shoes are too big and I never grew into them. It doesn't go that way. It's the other way. Now, if you do get a pair of shoes that's a little bit big, you'll either grow into them or you can use them for other things, hiking, boating, whatever it is you like to do. But don't be afraid to get an accessible pair of shoes that's a little bit bigger than you're anticipating, maybe a lot. Now, so how do you do this? Well, the time to pick your shoes is on a weekday or a weekend in the evening after a 1-hour run. And then because you don't like to tell the size of your shoes, for the women, you order in a men's size. It sounds better, all right? You're all laughing, you know, I'm telling the truth, aren't I? And so that way, you know, I mean, buying a size 14, it just sounds terrible. But if it's a 9 men, it's okay, you can get away with it. Now, this is important because your shoes are an integral part of your whole running lifestyle. And we have all these people that get knee pains. Knee pains are usually due to improper shoes. Then we go down and we get orthotics. And we had one girl here who I was talking to 2 weeks ago. She at the expo for the marathon. She bought a pair of orthotics for $132. Didn't work. Went to another shop. Bought another pair for $220. And they're still not working. And you know, we have some, I don't like to talk about, but there's something out that does work like an orthotic. It's called a Thomas wedge. It's a prescription item. You've got to get it from a doctor. I think it's ridiculous because when I have them, I sell them for $9. It's cheaper than a pair of Spenco insoles, and it does exactly the same thing as a pair of orthotics. So I'm not in that market. I mean, I'm not. I tried it, but if you think you're going to need something, don't be afraid to try something that's a little less expensive than just going off the top. But the bottom line is, with proper running shoes, most of the time you shouldn't need very much. Now, all the Thomas wedges gives you a neutral foot strike. It just raises the outside of the foot in the shoe by about a 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, and it's soft, and just returns your feet to normal. Now, when you're standing, your foot is directly up and down. When your shoe wears on the side, the bottom of the outside wears down, and your foot tends to squinch over. This just tends to give you a neutral foot strike in a shoe. And you can do it yourself. You can make your own. Yeah, that easy. Okay, I'll turn it over to Peter now, and then I think next Sunday we're going to start talking about heat and fluids. Tell you why you need to drink your water and why you need to drink it when you're not thirsty, and so on and so forth. With that, I'll turn it over to Peter.
Thank you, Dr. Scaff. Of course, Dr.